Here with an investment banking demo, right? First thing I see when I log in is the pipeline, all the opportunities that we're pitching for or that we're executing on. Let's say one of those opportunities, Project Falcon, we've been hired by our client Nabisco, consumer retail company, for a sell-side M&A process. Let's click to the page for that opportunity and begin to build our buyers list and leverage the relationship intelligence data to better distinguish or determine who we can reach out to. On the landing page for the engagement, I see a summary of the opportunity, maybe a process of where we are or a summary of who we've approached. Across the top, there's various dashboards that help me centralize our process, the deal calendar and all the tasks and action items, documents that we're storing and capturing, or activity that we're collecting against this. One of the dashboards, maybe I'll show before the buyer list building, is the client relationships. So even before we get hired by our client, how can we leverage our relationships internally to build and nurture the account? So here I can see across our entire network internally, Peter Partner, Dan Deals, and Sally, who are those contacts at our client or parent company that we have relationships with, automatically pulling in from their Outlook metadata, the strength of the relationship, and some of those last touch points, the last meeting, interaction, inbound, outbound email, and how is that relationship trending based on the number of touch points and the quality over time. So that as we begin to pitch and leverage our relationships to win the business, we know that maybe Betty should be the one leading the charge with Tim, the chief growth officer, and maybe Sally should lead the charge with Dirk Van de Put, the CEO. So once you win the business, once we've been hired by Mondelez, the parent company, to maybe sell their subsidiary Nabisco, now it's time to leverage DealCloud and the data and the platform to build that buyers list. As everyone knows, the suggested buyers is a strong part of our talk track, where the system can automatically surface for you prospective buyers or counterparties that have a matching investment preference for that industry, geography, has a minimum and maximum EBITDA range that matches that of our client. Directly from here, I can pick and choose by one individually or in bulk who are those buyers that we should reach out to and add to our buyers list. And we can leverage that relationship score and intelligence to know who internally to lead the process in reaching out to this counterparty. Directly from here, as I'm bringing them in bulk, now instead of, historically in the past, you have to go to Target Builder in the top right and begin to build from there. Now product has built a lot of enhancements that we've updated in the demo where I can select the action buttons. And this allows me to add in counterparties into the system. I can do this from a financial perspective or strategics or both together combined. So directly from here, you'll see it allows me to add those counterparties, send it a list builder or send to my target list. This is a really exciting enhancement. For those with the kind of technical knowledge, this is allowing you to take information from the company object and directly push it onto the counterparty object or the buyer object, where now you track between these different companies for this project, where are they in a process? So we'll show that here in a moment from the buyers list dashboard. And this is that view where I can see who have we already added to the buyers list and where are we in our milestone progression with them? Who have we sent a teaser to, reach the NDA stage or has data room access? And what is our relationship score with them? And then leveraging the intelligence internally to assign the lead banker on that process. By virtue of collecting this data over time, we can show you who are the counterparties or buyers that you spoke to on previous engagements, maybe in the same industry sector for clients of a similar size. And this can be a great way to know who to reach out to or what to expect from those that you have reached out to in terms of rationale or the level of interest or reasons they've passed on previous opportunities, maybe in the same space, but a different location geography. And I think this is actually a good segue now to talk on sponsor coverage and how we're helping clients even build this buyers list ahead of time by collecting investment preferences. Going back to the suggested buyers, I mentioned we can automatically surface them using their industry, geographic, or EBITDA and revenue preferences. Clients often ask, where did this data come from? It can come in from a third-party data provider. CapIQ, S&P Global, PitchBook, and a number of others already collect this data. So if they pay for it already, they can integrate it and sync that into DealCloud. They can also enter it in manually, as they're having phone calls and conversations with Blackstone or Apollo. And then the third option is collecting it directly from the company through surveys. So leveraging dispatch pages, you can create different surveys and send them directly to these companies and then track, what is their latest, most recent investment preferences according to the survey. So here within pages, I can see what's been unpublished or published, and think of this like a SurveyMonkey Google form where I can create different surveys with my own branding and logos. I can send out these surveys in a hyperlink URL in an email to a number of recipients where they fill in their first name, last name, email address, and then begin to enter the investment preferences or focus for their firm. And this is a great way to just, again, automatically collect data from the market instead of always being dependent on phone calls and manual data entry by the team or a third-party data provider that might be stale in their data collection. I'll show another example here. Post-engagement, once we've closed the transaction, sending it back to our client, Mondelez, how satisfied were they with our service? How likely are they to refer us to another company? So a lot of interesting use cases, I think, with pages and that zero data entry. So now I want to transition and show how that may render on the end, where here on the landing page for the call-out group, I can see their latest investment preferences according to the survey, maybe responded to, last year. So I have that audit trail of, when did the responses come in and do we want to manually override it with even our own proprietary knowledge from the phone call? So it's not restricted to just the survey responses. So in the same way, we can create hierarchies with different data providers. If one of our clients is leveraging PitchBook and CapIQ and other data sets at once, they can distinguish on a field by field basis what data source to display first. They can incorporate survey data into that hierarchy logic. And then I think that finishes with, one last agenda item I want to touch on, which is more of a management level reporting. As DealCloud helps you build the buyers list and determine who to reach out to, now you can begin to manage that process within DealCloud. So as you move from different milestone dates from NDA side into info memo, or timestamping when it happens, or when you reach certain milestones for the engagement or project itself. So now I can look back and report on our engagement efficiency. Here within the management dashboards, we've created a new report called Engagement Efficiency, where clients are increasingly telling us, even before they sign a client, they want to know how long it might take based on similar engagements or similar projects, maybe in the same sector of a similar size. So here I can see across all of our consumer retail group, sell side, buy side, equity capital raises, how many days does it take us to go from starting or creating the project through closing it? And how many days do we stay in a live engagement phase from when we sign the engagement letter to close the transaction? How many days did it take? And how many days did it take us to win the mandate? How long were we pitching? Was this opportunity in a prospective status based on those milestone dates around the project and when the idea was first generated? And then this can be found on a number of other dashboards. So as I pivot into consumer retail, I can see all of our engagement and industry analytics, including those efficiency metrics. This can also be great for staffing. So if we have a client or a project that's high priority, let's make sure we're staffing the team members that tend to go through a quicker process or have been staffed on engagements that have closed quicker. So we can see how many days on average are we spending across these different sectors in these different stages. That essentially closes off everything I wanted to touch on, especially on how relationship intelligence facilitates a lot of this passively in the background, from winning the mandate and pitching to executing on it, building the buyers list, doing the outreach, and then post-engagement, doing the reporting on our efficiency, the client satisfaction, and then the ongoing relationship coverage with the investment preference survey.